Stupidity is what genuinely surprises me the most. I mean, look, there have been genuine criticisms of free trade in the past 250 years of the economic discipline. Very prominent would be Frederick List in the early 1800s, a German-American immigrant. But that's not what we're getting. After the inauguration, the administration's economic staff went to work to determine the tariff rates of dozens of countries and to specifically look at the policies so we can match them line by line. Instead, literally, like 3 hours before the speech went, Trump personally selected a different equation, the trade deficit equation. This equation is so arbitrary, it has nothing to do with what is good or bad for the economy. In fact, it's kind of against that. If we have a large trade deficit with a country, it means we're getting a lot of comparative advantage by trading with them. So by slapping a huge tariff on, say, Cambodia or Vietnam or Madagascar, where we get almost all of our vanilla, we end up almost maximizing the pain to the United States economy. But it's worse than that. You see this formula here? That's what the White House put out. They had these Greek letters, and these Greek letters here, you know, there's this fee that equals 1/4. They even did this formula wrong. The USTR said that they got fee equals 0.25 by citing a paper from Cavallo et al. 2021. But if you actually read the thing, or better yet, just ask Alberto Cavallo himself, he says, no, that's not what our paper said. We didn't get 0.25 for that particular elasticity. We got something closer to 1. And so, if you plug in a 1 here instead of a 1/4, the tariffs should have been 4 times smaller. So like nearly every country on this list should be 10% rather than 20, 30, or 40%. But wait, there's more. One of the chief public proponents of Trump's tariff policy would be the lawyer Orrin Cass, who wrote an influential Atlantic article claiming economists aren't telling the whole truth about tariffs. And he's been given a lot of attention and accolades from a lot of folks, such as...
I wanted to have you on. I want to tell you, I really do enjoy your writing.
Then just 2 days ago, he asks the question, can a simple caveman lawyer get some help here? Mind you, he calls himself the chief economist of his think tank. How would comparative advantage determine a trade deficit? And us economists, we're all like, is he for real? I thought you knew the whole truth about tariffs. This is day 2 material in any principles of economics course. I mean, all of us have a 100% trade deficit with a grocery store, unless you actually work at the grocery store, and like, that's fine. That's normal. They have a comparative advantage in retail of groceries, and I have a comparative advantage in doing my job, either between people or between countries. But then he doubled down, tough crowd, sore subject, I guess. And then he makes up this straw man, thanks also to everyone who thinks richer countries always run deficits with poorer countries, because poorer countries can't afford to buy as much. Nobody's saying this. Why are you straw manning? Lots of rich countries had positive trade surpluses. Singapore, Ireland, Germany, Netherlands, Switzerland, Norway, Australia, Spain. And then even if we look at the bilateral trade specifically with the US has a trade surplus with many lower income countries. Brazil, Panama, Dominican Republic, Chile, Argentina, and most of Latin America. A lot of people say, why is Trump doing this? Or some secret plan or something. Impose big tariffs, bring all major US debt holders to heel, make them accept long bonds, and not devalue or else more tariffs. US debt stabilized, global economy rewired. You know, these whole big complicated things. Or is it just real simple? Trump has just always liked tariffs.
And I think a lot of people are tired of watching other countries ripping off the United States.
It's pretty simple. He's been saying this consistently for 40 years. He thinks a country should never have a bilateral trade deficit in goods. Yet, on the other hand, you can find plenty of clips of him praising when other countries invest in the United States. But lost to him, and what is in every kind of chapter 16 or whatever of a principles textbook, is the fact that all trade deficits are equal to all investment surpluses. So if we like countries investing in us, then we're going to have to run a trade deficit. That's just basic accounting. The whole philosophy really is